we looking at today, Ferb?
This old house.
This is a scrapbook I put together when we were renovating this old house. And we're gonna show you what we bought and what we live in today, where it began and how it's going.
Good luck visiting our house without her showing this to you.
It's true. Show everybody. I'm so very proud of this book. And the only reason why we have all these pictures is because when we were renovating the house, we got tax credits for documenting our progress and showing what we did to renovate this old house. So this is a copy of the pictures that we did to document that renovation process. So this is what we bought. And your grandparents told us we were completely insane for purchasing such a piece of junk. We live in a mill village, and the village was built in the 1880s, and it was a thriving mill village for a while. And then in 1950-ish, around the 1950s, the whole entire village was deserted. And in the 1970s, the fire department, the volunteer fire department, was using the houses for practice. They were setting the houses on fire, letting them get a good start, and then coming in with their trucks and practicing putting out fires. And I found out a couple of years ago, my husband has a family member who was in the volunteer fire department, and he said ours was next, that ours would have been the next house, except for in 1978, the area was deemed a historic district, and so at that point they had to stop burning down the houses because it was then illegal to burn them. So there's a little history for you. On this page we see a pink ribbon on the house because this is the day that Rinna was born. Yay! This is what our house looked like the day that Rinna was born. So we bought this house. We had big plans when we were a young couple, and we had big plans to fix things up and do better with our lives. And the day after we bought it, I want to say it was definitely within a week, but I feel like it was the day after, my husband got his letter that he had been accepted into the graduate program that he had been wanting to go to.
There is hair in my lip gloss for like most of this next thing, so brace yourselves.
And we found out that this one was on the way. This was really exciting, and it curtailed a lot of my plans though. Michael had less time to do the renovations himself like he had hoped, and I wasn't allowed to do a lot of the painting, and we weren't sure if the paint in the house was lead, so I was definitely barred from doing a lot of this stuff myself. Thank you. It's the back view of the house before and after. So the floor in the kitchen was completely unusable, as you can see from this photo. So we had to get new floors in. And this is really interesting because about the same time we realized we needed some new flooring, parsonage next door to the church where Michael and I were married was going to be demolished, and they were pulling out the floors. So we got the plank floors from the parsonage at his family's church, and that's actually where your great-grandparents were married. Great-grandmother Corinna got married on these floors that are now in our kitchen, so that's pretty cool. The kitchen was an add-on. It had been added on in the 30s or 40s. Not every house in the neighborhood. So all of our houses look the same. It's like a housing development, but in 1880. So all of the houses are those same floor models, and ours is slightly different from all of our neighbors' houses because we did have a kitchen that was added on at some point. I'm not sure it was a kitchen when it was added on, but that's what it is now. Our front door, we have the original front door. I'm really proud of that. Oh, there's baby Holt. This is the wall directly behind us. I'm really looking forward to you seeing this.
Getting high 79.
It says getting high 79. I was in kindergarten at the time. I did not spray paint that. I had no idea. And that's our original fireplace there. The dining room floor is a different story. The new wall behind the fireplace. The bricks are original. We had to redo the mantle.
We have a random chimney in our hallway because of how y'all redid that.
I'll show that in a minute. Don't know, no spoilers.
Home. Chimney.
Me.
And also the random chimney in our hallway.
Most of your floors are intact. The windows have been broken out at some point, probably in the 70s also. So all of our windows are busted. They all had to be replaced with historically accurate windows, which are not only expensive but also not energy efficient. So that's a pain of living in a historic home.
It's really fun in the middle of summer, in the middle of winter, with no insulation in the windows.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to insulate the house at all because it wasn't historical, and we also couldn't add insulated windows. So that's definitely a problem. Keeping the upstairs, the old part of the house, warm. So that's exactly where she lives. I'm gonna slide over because you have sun right in your face. I feel bad. Can you get over here and hold the door so you don't have that weird glare? Yeah. So yeah, that's a problem. And the person who put in our heating system said he recommended 3 separate units: one for the upstairs, one for the old part, and then one for the addition. And at the time we're like, yeah, that'd be awesome, but we can't afford it. So we're putting all of our money into the renovations. And yeah, now I wish it was something that we had just added on in finance. All right, so here we are in what's now Holt's room, and this was your baby nursery at the time. That was a window originally that looked out into the backyard, but it got boarded up when they added the kitchen addition. So we've never seen a window there. This is the Yarn Palace. A beautiful Yarn Palace was an outdoor porch that we enclosed and added a bank of windows so that you could still have the feel that it was outdoors, to have that feeling of bringing the outside in, but without having to actually be outside and exposing my yarn to the elements. It was your play kitchen when you were little. Now it's my Yarn Palace. This one is damage to our chimney that was caused by Hurricane Hazel back in the 1950s. Hurricane Hazel back in the 1950s, and I wanted to keep that. I felt like that was historical. I remember my mom telling me a story about getting off the school bus during Hurricane Hazel. Her bus driver said, I have to hurry up and get everybody home, so you're just gonna have to walk. And he let her out, and she walked nearly a mile in a hurricane when she was 6 or 7. She remembers the story vividly. She's okay, obviously. But my grandma pitched a fit and went to the school to complain after it was all over. But I like the idea of keeping that obvious discoloration between the 2 chimneys to show where Hurricane Hazel had. The historic board made us replace that old part of the restored part of the chimney with brick that matched the original. So there you go. So we would come check on the progress. We didn't get to do as much of the work ourselves as we had hoped, but we'd come check on the progress, and our contractor Neil would always have music playing, always have the radio on, and Rinna was a little tiny baby at this point, and she thought this was a place where you just come and dance. So every time we came here, she would get her groove on to Mr. Neil's radio. So we have some pictures of her dancing in the house as he's working on it. In the house as he's working on it. There's always daffodils in bloom in this neighborhood. Apparently the people back when this was an actual mill, working mill, they painted some daffodils that I picked at one point on the porch. Oh, this is interesting. Our neighborhood was featured in Country Living magazine many years ago. We were the house, one of our neighbors rebuilt their house from the ground up, and it was the Country Living House of the Year. So it's been in that magazine. This, I thought that's what this was, but apparently this is an article from Our State magazine about the village.
You know, on the Mountain to Sea Trail website, if you look up segment 9, that's the picture that they use.
Oh, cool.
No, that's this one.
That's the front street of our neighborhood. We're on the back street. We're just holding a sack race.
Why is that in here?
I have no idea. Right. One of the fun things I think about living in a historic house, so we know it's definitely not fun to not have insulation and to have to live upstairs in a room that looks like something out of a fairy tale, but is very cold and very hot. But I love living in a house with history. I love the idea this house was here long before I got here. It will hopefully stay around long after we're gone too. And this was pretty awesome. So this lady knocked on the door. She said, "My mother was born in the upstairs of your house, apparently, and I would love for her to be able to see it again." And we thought that was pretty cool too. So we invited her and her mom to come back. Her mom was in a nursing home at the time. So she went and got her and brought her back another day. And we videoed our old camcorder. We did not have good quality cell phone videos at the time. We recorded her coming through the house and looking at things and noticing how it was different and how it was the same. And one of my favorite stories was when she got up the stairs. She noticed there's a knot hole in the floor. The stairs. She noticed there's a knot hole in the floor, and the kids used to always you played with that until recently. They would throw stuff through the knot hole. So that's Holt's room behind us.
Now we have cell phones, so we don't really need to. We can just text each other. But we did use that a lot when we were little.
Yes, Rinna's got the whole upstairs to herself. So she's got there's a loft area.
There's 3 holes upstairs.
Yeah, there's several holes upstairs, but there's a loft area over Holt's room that we changed into a bathroom, and there's a really big landing. And eventually she made that into a library. It was a playroom for a really long time, and it was directly over Holt's bedroom. So she would throw things down the hole at him. When he was having temper tantrums when he was little and would get sent to his room, she would talk to him through the hole and calm him down. Or just say, "Hey, Holt, look at the hole," and he would look up, and that would be her eyeball, and he would giggle because it was really funny. Or she would wave at him through the hole. But we found out that that lady had done the same thing, that her brother had also been in that room for a while, and she used to, when he would bring people home, she would spy on them through the knot hole, and she would throw things through the knot hole at him too. So I really liked hearing that story. And she had lived in Rinna's room for most of her childhood, and she had told us the stories about how cold it was up there. So that was something that we got to find out was historical. You got an awesome room, but it's cold. But she also told us the story of we'll have to film leading up to Rinna's room, and I'd always wondered what they were. They're kind of cool, but they're also very weird, and I wondered what they were. They're kind of cool, but they're also very weird, and I wondered what they were. And she said that her family had rented out some of the extra rooms in the house. Living in her brother's room. Someone had been living in the loft area, and I want to say there was somebody in the dining room at one point. That they had just rented out different areas of the house for income. But the man who had rented the loft wore cowboy boots with really sharp heels, and he had made those indentions in the stairs when he was going up to his room at night.
One time they caught an eel down here in the wheel. It's the race they call it.
And it